Awesome. I'm back with Lloyd to explore the dimensions and dynamics of the entrepreneurial brain. And we've done a bit more work on it, and we're kind of refining the dynamic words that describe the states and take this thing further. And we're thinking of losing this block altogether because it's way too flat, and going for something a bit more dynamic. But we've gone all the way back to looking at fear and saying, well, that's really the awareness of inhibitors and enablers, beginning to really ignite and adopt intentionally enlightened thinking based on your massive transformative purpose. And we spoke about fear and ignite in the last two sessions. But we didn't really do justice to massive transformative purpose. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And then we're going to talk about the next state, which is the explore state, which really touches on the evolution of disruptive thinking. And for the explore state, we've come up with this set of words. We'll take you through, based on the explore state, how we see this unpacking in terms of beginning with excite. So, Lloyd, I don't know if you want to pick up there. And yeah, thanks again.
Well, it's good to be here again. I don't know if you maybe want to just start with just touching on that the MTP, Craig. I think just as a launching block for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So actually what we did with explore was we changed the P that we had as play when we were initially looking at it to purpose. And I'll come back to that. So yeah, I think, one of the fundamental things for the mindset of the entrepreneur is really to get your purpose right, to really understand a massive transformative purpose, because that is more than just about finding your own why and realizing that you may have a gift that you can give away, and that would be quite invigorating or enlightening. But what is that purpose, and how can you expand that purpose to attract other people? And a massive transformative purpose begins to do that. It attracts a community, and it helps you to build a sense of change that drives more than just what you can achieve on your own. So refining your massive transformative purpose and driving out something that like we have, democratizing entrepreneurship. It's something that's not easy, but if we can get it right, it's going to make a huge difference to a lot of people. Is the point of having a massive transformative purpose. So yeah, that's where we thought we should start with this, but we see the explore state as kind of the evolution of disruptive thinking, and it always needs to be guided by your massive transformative purpose. Do you want to pick up from there, right?
Yeah, so I think just to follow on there, I think the MTP plays a critical role in getting sort of the juices flowing. It's definitely a critical starting point to have, and obviously it features throughout and guides throughout. But sort of using that as a sort of launch pad, sort of igniting this thinking, we sort of move into this explore element or state. And I think the whole purpose here in this, what we're going to discuss is really about action. It's about sort of doing something new and exciting in order to get to that enhanced and evolved disruptive thinking. So yeah, I think let's sort of dive straight in. The first word we've got there for the first E of explore is excite. And if there's no excitement, I think we've sort of got to go back to the drawing board, because you've got to have this motivation. You've got to be energized to take action and make the necessary decisions that are going to sort of be linked to your passion for what you're doing. Without that, I think we're running on fumes, and things are going to fall flat.
Yeah. So really having the passion and excitement to be the change that you want to see in the world, I guess, is the kind of thinking.
100%.
And yeah, we don't have, so we're moving on to experiment, because we've already done purpose, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I see we've still got it as exponential in the table there.
Oh yes, yeah. So we were looking at different words.
So we got the experiment, and maybe just to sort of emphasize that all these words are so interconnected, just as all these different states or elements are so interconnected. So bouncing around between the different words, we're going to group the different words because they all serve a purpose. But again, it doesn't have to be linear. And our discussions aren't going to be linear either.
Yeah, they're actually a bit more like a crossword puzzle than set lists of words. If you think about it, because they intersect at different points for different reasons, and
absolutely.
So getting and I think this is why experimenting is so important, because you really have to test your assumptions. And my favorite tool for experimenting is a thing called prototyping, where you first of all clarify your assumptions and list them at a high level, but then you break them down into much more granular assumptions that you can test very rigorously, and use that to refine your thinking, get valid data about the context that you're addressing. Not get into a situation where you're making assumptions that are almost feeding each other and result in your thinking being stuck, and almost believing your own stories, which may or may not be valid in the real world context. So you really have to get valid data about your assumptions.
I think the important thing here is that there has to be action. You have to do in order to test and so on. So I think just do and do more is really critical.
And then, so that leads nicely onto learning, and always be learning and unlearning. So as you experiment and as you validate what the assumptions are that you've made, you're going to learn. But the important thing is that you're actually open to learning and adapting and changing. Often we learn over long periods of time, and we sort of cement what we've learned in as the only reality and the only way to do things. But in the future, there'll be many different ways to do things, especially if you're open to new learning along the way. Do you want to add anything to learn there, Lloyd?
Yeah, I think it's just, to reiterate what you've said is to be open to the learning, and learning can take place in many different shapes and forms, and we've got to just be receptive to it. Critical is the learning that takes through the experimenting. If we're not learning, then we kind of just going to be going around in circles. So absolutely, be open. And I think learning to unlearn is a critical skill that people, we all need to develop and practice.
And requires the right mindset.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that you will fail. That's part of learning. So that the beauty of failing is to learn from it. And those challenges might feel like you should stop the hurdles. There are too many hurdles, but actually they're also the opportunity to learn and grow, which leads us into overcome, which requires, we've spoken about tenacity before, but Lloyd, do you want to add to overcome?
Yeah, I think again, just sort of linking back to the whole idea of experimenting and learning. If we don't overcome the challenges, that we face, if we don't embrace the failure that we experience and actually learn and grow and develop from it, then we're not overcoming anything. We're kind of just staying stuck in a little bubble, and we're not really going to be moving it forward. We're not really going to be changing anything or disrupting anything. So this idea of overcoming, I think, is almost an acceptance of the challenge ahead of us, constantly sort of sucking in new information, testing things out, challenging ourselves, and just sort of overcoming the challenges to develop a more enhanced version of ourselves, enhanced thinking. So I think that's really sort of what the overcome refers to there.
Yeah. And if we do that, we're able to broaden our perspectives and enhance our thinking. So that leads nicely into realize. You want to explore that a bit as well?
Yeah, again, and I mean, you said it there, broaden our perspectives, because very often we get sort of, and you mentioned it earlier, we get sort of stuck on the rails, and we sort of just carry on the sort of tracks that we used to, or that we've been taught to follow. By being able to sort of broaden our perspectives, learn, overcome challenges, embrace failure, we start to realize that, maybe we don't need to be stuck on tracks at all. Maybe there's so many different alternative perspectives and understandings that we need to be considering. And as we do that, we start to see things very, very differently. And I think it becomes very exciting then as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite phrases at the moment is exploring exponential possibilities. So in spite of all the negativity that's going around and the challenges that people are facing, if you can just look beyond linear thinking and not assume that things are going to continue in a flat line or straight line down or straight line up, if you can really get to explore exponentialities, which is part of the reason that we are where we are, is because of the price performance of technology creating exponentially cheaper and cheaper and cheaper systems and solutions that we can all tap into if we understand them. So understanding exponential thinking and abundance thinking as well is something that will help us realize a future that is way more positive than what we're experiencing in many respects at the moment.
Absolutely, and I think what you just said there sort of feeds very much into the next and final word that we've got in this element, and that's evolve. Because if we don't evolve, if our thinking doesn't evolve, our actions don't evolve. And if our actions don't evolve, then the products we offer and the engagements that we have just remain stagnant, sort of in the old way. We have to evolve, and I like the concept of evolution, that there's this change, and it's sort of change brings about more change, and there's growth, and it's sort of working towards something better, something sort of more refined, something more powerful. And essentially that's what we're wanting to encourage with regards to this element, and it's working towards this disruptive thinking, to think differently, have this enhanced perspective and outlook on what's there in front of us, so that we can embrace it and do something different with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks very much, Lloyd. I think this is getting increasingly interesting, and really the exponential future and the exponential possibilities that we face are not locked into the negative environment that we're seeing right at the minute. We can all be more open-minded, more flexible, keep learning and adapting, and embrace the opportunities that are coming from exponential technologies like machine learning, as an example. If we understand how to leverage that rather than allow the machines to control us, we can all participate in a much brighter future. Should we call it there?
Absolutely. I look forward to chatting about the next element, refine, next time.
Thanks very much.